Hello, welcome to Bob's Dungeon. My name's Bob, I'll be your host. One of the most important parts for any Dungeons & Dragons game is probably the campaign setting. The campaign setting can be something simple, like a string of adventures tied together, with no real detail into the background of the nations and stuff in the game. Or it can be something really in-depth, detailing all the countries and religions and people and factions in the setting. Just whatever your game needs. You can create your own, which is something I like to do, or you can get a pre-made one. Some of the more famous being Greyhawk, Forgotten Realms, Dark Sun, Ravenloft even. And then there are a bunch of others that are, for whatever reasons, lesser known. Didn't take off, become as popular as the others. And we're going to talk about one of those in this video. We're going to talk about the Dragonstar Campaign Setting. We're going to start with the Starfarers Handbook, which is pretty much a player's handbook for this campaign setting. This campaign setting is pretty much a science fiction setting to use with your fantasy game. This book that we're going to start with has 172 pages and a copyright of 2001. It was published by Fantasy Flight Games, and all of the artwork in this book is in both color and black and white. So let's go ahead and look at that artwork. Some of the artwork in this book is in full color, while the rest of it is in black and white. The color photos are nice and good to look at. The art goes a long way to combining the fantasy of the Dungeons & Dragons with the campaign's sci-fi setting. Even the action scenes combine the two quite well. To play this game, what you're going to need is a copy of this book and the Guide to the Galaxy for this campaign setting, which we'll look at in a minute, and a copy of the core rule books for either 3rd edition or 3.5 Dungeons & Dragons. You'll also need a full set of dice, which contains a 20-sided die, a 12-sided die, preferably 2 10-sided dice for rolling both percentiles and tens, an 8-sided die, a 6-sided die, and a 4-sided die. This book, along with the Player's Handbook for the core rules, will give you everything you need to make up a character in this campaign setting. It goes over the races that can be found in the core rule books and lets you know what changes are made for this campaign setting. It also gives you a few new races to use at character creation, such as the Drow, the Half-Dragons, the Orcs, and a new race called the Soul Mix. It also gives you 2 new classes to use for your campaign setting, as well as listing all the classes from the core rulebook, letting you know all the changes made to those classes. The 2 new classes are the Pilot and the Machinist. It also lists all of the prestige classes that you can find in the Dungeon Master's Guide for 3rd edition, and lets you know what all the changes are for those prestige classes for this campaign setting. It also lists a few new prestige classes for this campaign setting, such as the Gun Dancer, the Negotiator, and the Technomancer. This book also has a chapter on skills, which explains how the different skills in the core rule book are changed up a little bit for this campaign setting, and it also gives you some brand new skills for this setting. Same thing with feats. There's a chapter discussing how the feats may have changed a little for this campaign setting, and list of brand new feats specific to this campaign. It also has a chapter on magic and tells you how some of the spells are altered for this setting, and also gives you a list of brand new spells for this setting. There's a chapter on equipment here to give you slew of sci-fi equipment for your campaign. And it also has a chapter in here on vehicles. So you have your starships and your motor-powered vehicles. It even lets you in on the big secret of who invented faster-than-light travel. Or in this, it's kind of a teleporting. And that would be the gnomes. Of course, it would be the gnomes. And basically, they built the ship's engine, which is called a Starcaster. And it's basically just a big magic item. It has like 50 charges, and once they're used up, you'll have to find somebody to recharge it. But it essentially makes your ship a big magic item. And that's kind of cool. And that's pretty much it for the Starfarers Handbook. So let's go ahead and move on to the next book. The Guide to the Galaxy. Mine has got a little bit of damage here on where I was involved in a car accident. Part of the car poked through the book, damaged some of the inside pages, but luckily it was just the edge of the pages, so you can still read the book, and it's still very usable. But anyway, this book has 172 pages and a copyright of 2001, just like the other book. It was published by Fantasy Flight Games, and like the other book, all of the artwork is in both color and black and white. So let's go ahead and look at that artwork. As with the other book, some of the pictures are in full color, while others are in black and white. And the art still does good with fusing both sci-fi and fantasy for the campaign. This book gives you a more in-depth look at the actual campaign setting. More in-depth look at the history of the setting. Basically, the galaxy was at war with the dragons leading the way, and after they wiped out an entire species of dragon, they realized that the war had to end, and they came up with this idea that each color of dragon would rule for a period of a few hundred years, and in the next one, and this is how they brought peace. They started with the metallic dragons, and where the campaign starts, where the players are going to start in this campaign, the chromatic dragons has just started their reigns, and they're starting with the red dragons. And the red dragon that's in charge has some sinister plans that will eventually come to light. And that's pretty cool. It gives you a look at the way religion works in this game. And basically you got what's called the Unification Church. And what that does is there are 12 aspects for the religion, and they believe that everybody's gods that they worship fit into those aspects. So basically any religion goes, which is kind of nifty. This book has brand new monsters for use in this campaign setting, and adjustments for monsters to be found in the normal Monsters Handbook. And it's just basically a wealth of information for you to use. It's got a story for you to use, if you wish, for this campaign setting. Talks about some of the power players, criminal organizations, government groups in this book. And tells you how you can basically use this science fiction setting in your normal fantasy game and how to get it started and stuff, which is pretty nifty, pretty useful. And that's pretty much all I got to say about the Dragonstar campaign setting right now. Brings me to 3 questions. Would I play a character in this campaign? Absolutely. I like science fiction, I like Dungeons and Dragons. This is a no-brainer for me. Would I run this campaign setting? Again, absolutely. There's so much I could do with this. So many ideas that come to mind with this campaign setting. It would be fun to see how my players react in it. Would I recommend this campaign setting? Absolutely. If you like science fiction and you want to do something different with your Dungeons and Dragons game, this is absolutely something you should look into. And that's pretty much all I got to say about Dragonstar for right now. Thank you for joining me at a look at this campaign setting, and hopefully you'll join me next time where we'll talk about something else. Bye.